The biggest road trip of the season starts for the Mariners tonight. We'll get you set for it coming up here on the Locked On Mariners podcast. Colby, hit it.
You are Locked On Mariners, your daily Seattle Mariners podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Ahoy, sailors. It is Tuesday, September 16th, 2025. This is Ty Gonzalez and Colby Patnode for the Locked On Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if you bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the FanDuel app today. And as always, if you want to hear from me and Colby even more and help support the show, you can check out our Patreon. All you have to do to check that out is click the link in the description of this episode. On the show today, we'll take a look at the Kansas City Royals, tell you about some pretty cool prospect news, and tell you what to watch for on the out-of-town scoreboard tonight. A lot of things happening on that front, and they're all going to be happening while the Mariners are playing, so going to be a lot to keep track of. We will get you set on that front a little later on, but let's start here with the Mariners' upcoming series with the Kansas City Royals starting at Kauffman Stadium tonight. That place has obviously been a house of horrors, at least for me. As a Mariners fan, I have admittedly crashed out a couple of times over some games that have happened at Kauffman Stadium over the last few years. We all remember the 11-2 debacle back in 2022. Obviously, the Bryce Miller start last year. Yeah, some not great memories at Kauffman Stadium for Mariners fans. But the Mariners overall since 2022, they're 5-5, which isn't bad by any means. They've played a lot of high-scoring games, which I think might be the case again in this series, and given how inconsistent the Mariners starting pitching has been on the road. Hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully they can get some big pitching just across the board, both out of the rotation and the bullpen. Hopefully they can pick up right where they left things off in the homestand. But yeah, this is a series that, only a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, we were looking at as having huge playoff implications for both teams, and that's not really going to be the case because the Royals have fallen back quite a bit. They're now 6.5 games out of a wild card spot. They are exactly 500 at 75-75. They still have a lot of talent, though. Obviously, Bobby Witt Jr., Michael Garcia, Vinny Pasquantino. I mean, remember we were talking about trades just a couple of months ago when we were talking about Vinny Pasquantino quite a bit, and my thoughts were, good player, but he doesn't really have, a traditional first base profile. Like, he doesn't hit a ton of, hit for a ton of power. I think he only had like 12 home runs at the time. He has 30 now. So Vinny Pasquantino is a problem. And they are getting healthier in the rotation as well. Michael Wacha will pitch tonight against Logan Gilbert. He's coming back from the concussion IL just in time for the series, of course. And then Cole Reagans, who's been out for the last 3 months with a strained rotator cuff. He's coming back tomorrow just in time for the Mariners series because, of course, yay. But, Reagans, and we'll talk about this a little bit more tomorrow, but Reagans only threw 56 pitches in his last rehab start. So I assume he's probably going to be somewhere in the 65 to 70 pitch range, if I had to guess. So there's a possibility there that if you can balloon his pitch count pretty early, you can get him out in 3 to 4 innings. So we'll see how that goes. And again, we'll talk more about that tomorrow. But obviously quite a bit of nerves just associated with playing at Kauffman Stadium. And then you throw in the fact that this is the biggest road trip of the entire season, maybe the biggest road trip in the history of the Seattle Mariners, because it's the next one. And with everything that's on the line for them. So there's just a lot of nerves right now, I would say, especially for me. How are you feeling, Colby?
Yeah, it's the good news is because of your 9-game winning streak, every win matters, every series matters. So of course this one matters too, but like, you have put yourself in a position where you can have a letdown series so long as you don't get swept. Now you can't do it against Houston, but the other 3 series left on the schedule, you can lose one of these series and still be in really good position. So now you do have the Dodgers at the end, so you might want to save that series for, the end, but yeah, who knows? But yeah, it's a little concerning because they have not played well on the road at all over the last couple of road trips. Obviously, the pitching has been significantly worse on the road for whatever reason. We've talked about some of the reasons, but there's no guarantee that doesn't crop back up again. And yeah, Kansas City is a team that is not, may not be great. They're a pretty good roster though. And they're only 500, but you just got done playing 3 dreadful teams on your 9-game winning streak. And those were teams where all the lineups had easy outs baked into them. And in Kansas City, not so much, like you said, it's Pasquantino, it's Bobby Witt Jr., it's Michael Garcia, who's having a breakout year. Perez is still dangerous with the power. And, it's the Jonathan India types. Like, they're not guaranteed outs. It's not like they're
Adam Frazier slapped in America.
Sure. It's not like they're, a group of like, power hitting. Like, it's not like you're facing even the Boston Red Sox or anything like that, but you're facing a lineup that really doesn't have a ton of holes, puts the ball in play. They don't strike out a ton, and your weakness is defense. And that is a problem. And defense includes holding runners and hitting the cutoff man and all of that stuff. And the Mariners don't do that well. They do not do the little things well. And Kansas City is a team that is kind of built to counteract that perfectly. Like, they are the anti-Mariners. They don't hit a ton of home runs, but they play really good defense. They run the bases aggressively. They have, they're smart and they're just more fundamentally sound than you are typically. So we'll see how the Mariners, handle that. Traditionally, these teams have played really close games and they've had close season series, every year for the last few years. Even when Kansas City was like a 100-loss team, they were still giving you really good games and you were still having to grind them out. So the talent gap isn't as big here as it was on the homestand. So yeah, there's lots to be concerned about. And obviously, Bryce Miller and Luis Castillo getting back-to-back starts. Despite Castillo and Miller both coming off of really good outings, it's tough to trust them still. And again, with just the way that this team is built and this ballpark, which is like the opposite of how you built your team, is in Kansas City is there's some cause for concern. And thankfully, you don't necessarily have to win this series. You should try and you should be rooting for a sweep and blah, 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 blah. But like, you can drop this series and still be in pretty good position when you go into Houston. But if you do get swept, things get a little dicey. Not so much with the Royals, but with catching the Astros and maybe the Rangers get back in it, or maybe Cleveland is right there with you. So things can still get dicey if you get swept. You can't get swept. You have to find a way to win at least one of these games. Obviously, winning the series is the goal, but you have to win one. And so getting one early, getting this first one would be huge. Kind of gives you 2 cracks at what you need to do over the next 2 days before you head into Houston. And you need Logan Gilbert to step up big time. This is the type of game where you need Gilbert to throw well for you. And it's go time. We are basically in the playoffs. And I mean, we're playing playoff, not that we're actually in the playoffs, but we're playing playoff baseball this week.
Yeah.
Like, that's what's happening here. And so, yeah, if unless you're going to sweep the Astros, which is possible, you really need to win at least one of these games in Kansas City. And the pitching matchups, could go either way on pretty much all of these. And Seattle's not a great fit for that ballpark. I would hope Victor Robles is playing right field in all 3 of these games. And I would hope Luke Raley is going to get some time in left field and maybe Randy DHs for a game or 2. And Polo plays second, because outfield defense is significantly more important in this ballpark than infield defense. Yeah. So, and you just live with Polo at second for a couple days and maybe give Randy a couple DH days, which wouldn't be the worst idea anyways. But get Raley out there to get your best defensive outfield, so maybe you can cut off some of these balls in the gap. I mean, Randy holding guys to singles is his biggest issue. Those balls down the line. This is not the ballpark to be messing around with that in. So see how it goes. But hopefully they can just find a way to get to Waka pretty early, and maybe they can, maybe not an 11-2 win, but could we get like a nice 5-2 kind of game where it's never really that much in doubt. Your bullpen should be pretty well rested, especially your high leverage guys. So there are some
Colby,
positives.
if this game was 18-2, I wouldn't trust it until they get the final out in the stadium.
Sure. But that's because you're the pessimist. So
Right.
yeah,
Right.
it's one of those things. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, I'm nervous about it for a lot of reasons. And you guys know those reasons. So we'll see how it goes. But ultimately, you're still in really good shape. So just don't embarrass yourselves over the next 3 games. And you'll probably be in really good shape and be right where you want to be when you face the Astros over the weekend.
Yeah, run prevention I think should be at the forefront of Dan Wilson's mind when he's filling out these lineups. I would like to see Victor Robles play all 3 games in right field, no matter the handedness situation. Which Reagan's a lefty, so I assume Robles is in the lineup no matter what tomorrow. But Waka a righty, Lorenzen a righty, and the final game I would like to see Robles get starts against those 2 guys as well, just so I can have his defense out there, because this is a huge outfield, and we have seen inside the park home runs, we have seen triples. We know how quickly a large lead can get erased in this ballpark. So run prevention is huge. That's going to be a huge part of this in order for the Mariners to have a successful series in Kansas City. Mike Yastrzemski, by the way, he's one of the newer guys in this Kansas City lineup since he's come over to the Royals. He's really found his power stroke. He's slugging over 500. He only had 8 home runs on the season with the Giants, and then he got traded to Kansas City. He has 7 since becoming a Royal. So they've added some annoying players. Adam Frazier has found ways to get some annoying hits. He had a pretty big hit in that Angels series like a week or so ago. Randall Grichuk, really good against lefties. So I assume if Gabe Spire is in there to face, or Caleb Ferguson is in there to face Caglione or Kyle Isbell, we're going to see Randall Grichuk pitch hit in that situation. That's going to be a tough guy to get out. So definitely some guys throughout this lineup and even on that bench to be mindful of here with the Royals. All right, so we're going to switch gears here before we talk about the out-of-town scoreboard and talk a little prospect news. We'll go over that in just a moment. But first, a reminder, this episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is brought to you by Nutrafol and Gametime. You've probably seen a million ads for hair growth products and thought, yeah, sure, like that actually works. And I don't blame you, because there are so many products out there, and it is so hard to know which ones are actually going to do anything. That's why you should give Nutrafol a closer look. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement brand, trusted by over 1.5 million people. And it's not just hype. This is a supplement clinically tested that targets the root causes of thinning and shedding with a proactive approach. See thicker, stronger hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol. And for a limited time, Nutrafol is offering Locked On Mariners listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code LOCKEDONMLB. That's Nutrafol.com, promo code LOCKEDONMLB. There's nothing like catching a baseball game live. The energy, the crowd, the chance to see your team in person, but actually getting tickets, that's the tough part. Queues, login screens, surprise fees. Ugh, it takes all the fun out of it. That's why I use Gametime, the app that gives the advantage back to the fans. Gametime is fast, easy, and backed by the Gametime guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included, so the price you see is the price you get. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Gametime today. And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast. For instant reactions following every Mariners game, be sure to tune into the Mariners postcast with Anderson Hurst, Christopher Crawford, available on both the Locked On Mariners YouTube and podcast feeds. So we're going to break up our talk about the current Mariners and talk about a potential future Mariner. Mariners' top prospect, Colt Emerson, has been surprisingly called up to AAA Tacoma after the Arkansas Travelers season ended on Sunday. According to Mariners GM Justin Hollander, the Rainiers could use some infield help, specifically at shortstop, and they felt that Colt was the best man for the job. And obviously the Rainiers are going to be starting the playoffs here in a little over a week. or actually, no, a little under a week now. The regular season ends on September 21st. So Colt's going to get, I don't know, about a extra week and a half at least added to his season. After he played 34 games with AA Arkansas, slash 282, 360, 430 down there. That's a 133 WRC plus, 19.3% K rate, 8.7% walk rate, 3 home runs, 18 RBI, 7 stolen bases. And he's going to make his debut today. He's actually making it by the time you're watching this. And the game is on Root Sports. So if you have the ability to watch Root Sports right now, as you're watching the premiere of this, turn it on, because you will get to see Colt Emerson make his AAA debut. So pretty cool that they're giving him this shot, and pretty cool that, Colt is going to enter 2026, a year in which we figured he would, have at least an outside shot to make his major league debut. He's going to enter that season with at least some AAA seasoning, and I would assume this means that he's probably going to start next year in AAA as well. So what do you think?
Yeah. It feels unnecessary, which is to say, it feels like this is one of those things where they don't need to do this, and the whole they need infield help and Colt's the best guy. Yeah, okay. The truth is that the Mariners want to see Colt Emerson face AAA pitching to see how close he is. And I think the more important conversation is one that we're not going to get too deep into here today. It's an off-season topic. Is what does this do? What does this mean for JP Crawford? We will have a lot of discussions this winter about what do the Mariners do about JP Crawford, because it is just undeniably true right now that JP Crawford's defense at shortstop is a major problem. It is one of the biggest weaknesses on this team. It's not getting better. JP also has 1 year left on his deal for $11 million. The Mariners, as we know, sometimes have to make some moves to clear some payroll space because ownership is just so wonderful. So could JP get Geno'd? Yeah, he might be. And if that's the case, the Mariners kind of need to know what they have in Emerson, know how close he is. So if he goes to AAA and he's decent and he's pretty good, they may still start him at AAA next year and maybe just roll with Cole Young or Leo Rivas as the shortstop to start the year. And Emerson would be up shortly after. But there's a possibility I think we have to consider here that there's a non-zero chance Emerson starts the year in the big leagues next year and is the opening day shortstop, which, again, for a 20-year-old who will be 20 until, late July of 2026, that is aggressive. But again, I don't buy this it's just, they needed some help and Colt's, the best shortstop we have. So blah, blah, blah. It's no, you wouldn't do that because Colt Emerson is too important of a prospect to just be yeah, sure, throw him up there. Don't need to play him. He'll be depth, or yeah, it's fine. You don't mess around with that. And Emerson has gotten a full season worth of at-bats. He's played a full season worth of games. So this isn't about him needing reps. This is 100% about them wanting to see what Colt Emerson looks like against AAA pitching, so they have some kind of idea of how close or how far away he is heading into this winter. And so, while it's going to be really tough for them to get any kind of, usable data out of the numbers because it's only going to be 50, 80 plate appearances, whatever it is. There's absolutely, how does he track spin? How does he, how are these at-bats looking? Is he working counts? Is he fouling off tough pitches? It's all the stuff, right, that goes into scouting other than just numbers. So I think this is a really interesting call-up, mostly because of what it does to our discussions this winter, because now Colt Emerson has to be a part of them. Because to me, this is very clearly the Mariners looking at this and saying, he might be ready to go early next year. And if he is, we might trade JP Crawford. Or we might move JP Crawford off of shortstop to second base or whatever, right? So this is not just an innocent little the Rainiers need help and they deserve it. Nope. This is about the Mariners setting themselves up for 2026 and trying to get as much information as they can about their top prospect, about his readiness level to face major league pitching. And look, it's never the same, right? Cole Young crushed AAA and he's been pretty much worthless as a hitter for the last month. so you're not going to get 100% of what you need to know, but it really is, I think, about, hey, let's see how close this guy is, how confident we are that he can help us next year, and how soon we think he can help us. And then that will inform a lot of the decisions we make this winter. So this is more than just a like, oh, that's cool type of thing. I think this is a very real admission by the Mariners that they think there's a good shot that Colt Emerson can help them early next year.
Yeah, at the very least, it expedites some of the workload that you were planning on giving him at the AAA level next year anyway.
Yeah.
So it gives you some valuable information heading into a big off season that we've kind of talked about a little bit here and there, more so on the Patreon podcast than on here. But this is an off season potentially that could see a lot of turnover on the major league roster for the Mariners, depending on how much or how little money the front office has to spend. All right, so let's wrap things up by talking about what you should be keeping an eye out for on the Out of Town scoreboard tonight. Go over that in just a moment. But first, a reminder, this episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. FanDuel makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. It's quick, easy, and the best way to add a little more energy to Sundays. So, are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast. So the Mariners' magic number to make the playoffs is still 9. Like we said yesterday, that couldn't have gone down because the Guardians didn't play. And obviously the magic number, as far as the out-of-town aspect of it goes, was tied to the Rangers and the Guardians last night. Now, the Rangers lost, so now it's only tied to the Guardians as far as tonight goes. The Guardians are kicking off a 3-game set with the Tigers, which could have implications for the Mariners either way that goes. If the Tigers lose, then the Mariners could potentially gain ground on them to get closer to getting that second seed in the American League and get the first round bye. And if the Guardians lose, then the magic number goes down to at least 8 tonight, and it could go down to 7 with a Mariners win on top of that. We'll see what happens with the Astros and the Rangers tonight. Obviously, all eyes right now on Yordan Alvarez, who suffered an ankle sprain early on in that one. Apparently, he left the clubhouse on crutches and in a walking boot and refused to speak to the media until he had more information on his injury. I don't know if we'll get more information on that today, but that obviously could have a pretty big impact on things moving forward. If the Astros lose tonight, then the Mariners' magic number to win the division goes down to 11. And if the Mariners win tonight, on top of that, it would go down to 10. Some other things to keep an eye on here: the Red Sox, who obviously would give the Mariners more of a buffer in the wild card if they can put some ground in between them and Boston. They kick off a series with the A's tonight, and then the Yankees, who the Mariners picked up a half game on yesterday after getting smoked by the Twins. That's crazy. That came out of nowhere. They continue their series with the Twins, so we'll see how that goes. So again, the path to the Mariners potentially hosting playoff games without even winning the division is there. The Yankees still have a very easy road here with 2 series left against the Orioles, this series against the Twins, and another series against the White Sox remaining. But that was pretty surprising. The Twins just smoked them last night. It's crazy. So a lot to keep an eye on, and all of this is going to be happening as the Mariners are playing.
Yep.
So I don't know if you're going to quad box it on MLB TV or you're just going to be checking your phone or what have you. But there's going to be a lot going on from about, I think 3:40 Pacific is the first game. I think that's the Guardians Tigers game.
All the games start between 3:40 and 5:10 Pacific time.
Yeah. Jage actually sent me a schedule, but I lost it. But so what are you mostly going to be keeping an eye on? Or are you just watching the Mariners game and not
just
worrying
watching
about
the
it?
Mariners game?
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm going to do, actually. It's kind of my plan. But I know some of you guys watching, you're going to be scoreboard watching. So
I mean, like I'll watch the Mariners game, and the Mariners get up or down by too much. I'd probably check the scoreboard and be like, all right, well, let's start to see how this might impact them. But yeah, I mean, for me, it's pretty easy. Mariners are the only team I care about, so that's the one I'm going to watch. And then, go Tigers and go Twins and go A's and go insert your preference in the American League West matchup here. I don't really know.
No.
So, yeah, I mean, maybe tonight it's go Houston or go Texas, and maybe tomorrow it's go Houston because I don't know. So, there's 4 or 5 games you need to pay attention to, but ultimately, if the Mariners handle their business, it doesn't matter what the other teams are going to do. So the Mariners are the most important team in this formula. So just watch them.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what I'll be doing. I don't want to have too much going on in my head, especially with how much I'm going to be stressed out watching the Mariners play a game in Kauffman Stadium. When the schedule got released, last year, and I saw, a Kansas City series in the middle of September. Great. Yeah. I'm totally not going to be stressed out about that. Well, here we are. And, I'm very much on edge. So yeah, we'll see how this thing goes, but, lots to keep an eye on. Should be a pretty busy night. And then we'll talk about it on tomorrow's episode. All right, that's going to do it for our show. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Locked On Mariners podcast. For Colby Patnode, I'm Tiding Gonzalez. Be sure to give us a follow on Twitter at @LO_Mariners. You can follow me at Tiding Gonzalez and Colby at CPAT11. That's CPAT11. We're also on Blue Sky. You can follow me at TDG, Colby at MLB Colby, and the show at Locked On Mariners. You can also find us on Instagram at Locked On Mariners. Have yourself a beautiful baseball day, and we'll see you next time. Peace.